For everyone, that I will get back to ripping apart the liberal death cult and promoting the cult of life, as I had stated in earlier videos. I took a slight break to focus on health promotion, and this will come in with the whole liberal death cult thing and reversing deaths of despair and things of that nature in future videos. But I wanted to cover T. Colin Campbell. This will be a series of videos. This is another gentleman like Jack LaLanne and others that did so much that it's going to be very hard to cover him in one video. Now, what you want to understand, this is the dude that did the China study research. Now, what makes the China study so good is you have to understand, with things like the Adventists and the Blue Zones, these are whole lifestyles. It's not just diet. Okay, so that's what you have to understand is when you're dealing with, say, the Seventh-day Adventists, you have those 8 laws of health. When you're dealing with the Blue Zones, I think it's 8 or 9 things that they discovered that they do that other people don't do that promotes their living longer. So with the China study, not so. You have people with varied smoking, people that smoke this much or that much, and people that do this and do that, and all this is factored in. So what this does is this proves the pertinence of a plant-centered diet, a whole food plant-centered diet in the promotion of health and in the reduction of disease. And this research again was done by T. Colin Campbell. So this is his Wikipedia page. So Dr. Campbell is an American biochemist. At least I think he's a doctor, if I remember correctly. Meaning he's a PhD, okay. So he was born in 1934. He's age 88. He went to veterinary school at Pennsylvania State University for 1 year. Has a Master's of Science in Nutrition and Biochemistry from Cornell University, a PhD in Biochemistry, Nutrition, and Microbiology from Cornell University. So this guy knows what he's talking about. So he's a nutritional biochemist. Spouse Karen Campbell. Campbell has become known for his advocacy of a low-fat, whole foods, plant-based diet. He claims responsibility for coining the term plant-based diet to help present his research on diet at the National Institutes of Health in 1980. He is the author of over 300 research papers. I'm going to go over a couple of them. The China study, co-authored with his son, Thomas Campbell II, which became one of America's best-selling books about nutrition, Whole, 2013, the low-carb fraud, and the future of nutrition, an insider's look at the science, why we keep getting it wrong, and how to start getting it right. Campbell featured in the 2011 American documentary Forks Over Knives. Campbell was one of the lead scientists of the China/Cornell-Oxford project. This was a partnership between China and the United States to find out how diet affects health. On diet and disease, set up in 1983 at Cornell University, the University of Oxford, and the Chinese Academy of Preventative Medicine to explore the relationship between nutrition, cancer, heart disease, blah, 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 metabolic disease, yada, yada. So, early life education, we went through all this already. Career, he joined MIT as a research associate, then worked for 10 years in Virginia Tech Department of Biochemistry and Nutrition. So this guy is a nerd. This guy knows how to run the numbers. This guy knows what he's doing. You get what I'm saying? Before returning to Cornell in 1975 to join its Division of Nutritional Sciences, he has worked as a senior science advisor to the American Institute for Cancer Research and sits on the advisory board of Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. He is known in particular for research derived in part from the China study that appears to link the consumption of animal protein with development of cancer and heart disease. He argues that casein, which is cheese, a protein found in milk from mammals, is the most significant carcinogen we consume. He kind of proves that, okay? So what I also want to point out here, I really want to point this out. Dr. Campbell's research does show the importance of a whole food plant-centered diet. But what it does not do is it does not say that protein is bad for you. This is the problem that a lot of vegans make. This is the problem I made when I started falling into a lot of the... I jumped on a lot of the research and took up a starch-centered diet, which was a mistake. What you need to understand is it's not protein that's correlated to health concerns. It is animal protein that's correlated with health concerns, is what his research showed. So it's not bad to focus on eating vegan protein sources, okay? So Campbell has followed a 99% vegan diet since around 1990. He does not identify himself as a vegetarian or vegan because he said they often infer something other than what I espouse. He told the New York Times the idea is that we should be consuming whole foods. Exactly. So it has to be a whole food diet. We should not be relying on the idea that genes are determinants of our health. We should not be relying on the idea that nutrient supplementation is the way to get nutrition, because it's not. I'm talking about whole plant-based foods. Of course, I would disagree with him on that. I think nutrient supplementation is not the way to get basic nourishment, okay? However, it can make a good diet much better. That's what I would say. Okay, but you have to start with that good diet, and that good diet is a plant-centered diet. I would suggest, and again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a cardiologist, I'm not a chiropractor, not a nurse practitioner, not an LPN. I'm nothing like that. I don't have any degrees, so what I'm saying is not my advice. But it seems like a 90% plant-centered diet, a 90% plant-based diet that's based in whole foods, whole plant foods, is what you need to be getting the benefits of a plant-centered diet. Doesn't have to be a vegan diet for the health benefits. It can have meat. It can have dairy, but the thing is, it probably shouldn't, okay? You're better off if you exclude those things. That's the problem, is it seems that you're better off if you exclude those things. However, it's not an absolute necessity to exclude them. So he does charity work. He is the founder of the T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutritional Studies, or Nutrition Studies organization, which was created to provide education about the whole food plant-based diet. Campbell recommends the center partners with E. Cornell to provide an online course which is the focus of education programs. Campbell is the president of the board of directors for the center. Okay, and we're going to move on. So this is one of Dr. Campbell's research papers. Okay, so investigators collected and analyzed mortality data for 50 plus diseases, including 7 different cancers from 65 different countries and 130 villages in rural mainland China. Blood, urine, food samples, and detailed dietary data were collected from 50 adults in each village and analyzed for a variety of nutritional, viral, hormonal, and toxic chemical factors. So as you can see here, this is far much more detailed than simply what do people eat and how long do they live. They are looking at everything here. In rural China, fat intake was less than half that in the United States, and fiber intake was 3 times higher. Animal protein intake was very low, only about 10% of the U.S. intake. Mean serum total cholesterol was 127 milligrams per deciliter in rural China versus 203 milligrams per deciliter for adults aged 20 to 74 in the United States. Coronary artery disease mortality was 16.7-fold greater in the United States in U.S. men and 5.6-fold greater in U.S. women than for their Chinese counterparts. The combined coronary artery disease mortality rates for both genders in rural China were inversely associated with the frequency of intake of green vegetables and plasma erythrocyte monounsaturated fatty acids, but positively associated with combined index of salt intake plus urinary sodium and plasma, blah, blah, blah. These, okay, are positively associated with animal protein intake. So these lipoproteins go up with animal protein intake. However, they go down when you consume plant proteins, such as legume and light-colored vegetable intake. So remember, focusing on a legume-centered diet to get your protein, not necessarily a bad thing. Rates of other diseases were also correlated with dietary factors. There was no evidence of a threshold beyond which further benefits did not accrue with increasing proportions of plant-based diets. So there was no evidence of a threshold. So up to 100%, you're getting more benefits, more and more benefits. You get it? No threshold. This is Dr. Collins' page for his charitable organization. Join the paranoid and endowed chair, move on. So what exactly does one eat on a whole food plant-centered diet, you might be asking? Well, let's see. Well, first, what do I eat? It's pretty simple. Whole, unrefined, plant-based foods. That's it. Okay? The benefits, this is one of the things that people need to understand too. Everybody is like, all this stuff about time-restricted eating and intermittent fasting and all this craziness. This can help, but it's not going to help very much if you're not already eating a simple, whole, unrefined, plant-centered diet. Okay, it's just not gonna do as much as you think it's gonna do. You need to start with the plant-centered diet. So why? The benefits of a healthy lifestyle are enormous when you adopt a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. And remember, this is based in research, not baloney. This guy is one of the top biochemists in the world. The China study is the most extensive nutritional study ever. Okay, so keep that in mind. So when you embrace a plant-based lifestyle, you lower your risk of prostate, breast, and other cancers, prevent and even reverse heart disease, prevent and treat diabetes, lose weight and have more energy, live longer, and much more. But remember, it has to be whole food plant-based. The price, simply changing your diet. It has never been so easy or so relatively effortless to achieve such profound benefits. Let's break it down into what can and can't be on your plate. Whole food, plant-based guide. Yes, eat these in abundance. Whole grains, barley, brown rice, teff, millet, wild rice, quinoa, amaranth, steel-cut and rolled oats, whole wheat. Legumes, canned with dried or canned with minimal salt. Adzuki beans. I'm not necessarily against salt. People know my view on salt by now, I think. So adzuki beans, black-eyed peas, chickpeas, fava beans, kidney beans, soybeans, green beans, peas, mung beans, lentils, lima beans, pinto beans, and homemade veggie burgers. Notice he states homemade veggie burgers. Homemade veggie burgers, not store-bought. I had to recently give up meat analogs, which is a fancy way of saying faux meats, because they just weren't agreeing with my system, and I just went back to straight legumes. I don't make too many homemade veggie burgers, although I do use the Augustin Farms black bean burger mix, which is very similar to a homemade veggie burger, by the way. Greens, fresh or frozen, kale, collards, spinach, lettuce, parsley, cilantro, chards, bok choy, arugula, roots, all kinds of potatoes. Don't agree with that. I do not agree. And I'll explain. The starch in the potato is not a great idea. I recommend, if you're going to eat a potato, focus on a sweet potato, and even then in limitation. These other root vegetables are fine. Onions, leeks, carrots, radishes, beets, garlic, ginger, turnips, daikon. But the thing is, what you have to understand, I'm not a believer that a lower carbohydrate diet or a lower glycemic index carbohydrate diet is a fraud. I believe that it's a good idea. White potatoes are very high on the glycemic index. Other veggies, and with these I say go nuts. Squash, celery, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, mushrooms, asparagus, peppers, tomatoes, zucchini, sea vegetables, fruit, fresh or frozen. I personally say go easy on fruit, but he says You don't have to, but apricots, apples, bananas, berries, cherries, melons, mangoes, papayas, pineapple, grapes, kiwi, and plums. Omega-3 rich seeds, flaxseed, chia seed, etc. Spices, all spices, beverages, water, unsweetened plant milks, herbal tea, green tea, decaffeinated coffee. Should I take a B12 supplement? This essential nutrient is not made by animals or plants. B12 is made by microbes, bacteria that blanket the earth. These bacteria are common in the gastrointestinal tract of animals, and so animal foods can be sources of B12. Few plants actually contain B12, 2 varieties of edible algae, some varieties of mushrooms, plants grown in experimental settings with B12-enriched soils or water, and some foods made with certain fermentation processes have small amounts of active B12. They recommend taking a B12 supplement. Of course, I recommend a lot more supplements than just B12. Learn more from Dr. Thomas Campbell in his article, 12 Questions Regarding B12. Occasionally eat these. Many of the foods, see, this is why he does not consider himself a vegan. I am an ethical vegetarian. I call myself a strict vegetarian. I do not agree with veganism in some respects. Okay? At least not yet, anyway. Not until we have things to replace animal usage in those areas. Many of the foods in the sparingly list are healthy foods. Lots of evidence suggests nuts are healthy. For example, and avocados and seeds have many valuable nutrients, but there's a unique circumstance with people used to the standard American diet who suddenly are trying to avoid added fats, cheeses, and rich cuts of meat. They still crave rich fatty meals, and if they realize they can put a half cup of cashews in every meal or a half of an avocado in everything, then they can follow the rules and still love the taste of their food. And guess what? They won't lose as much weight as they want or necessarily get the maximum benefit. Now, what I would suggest with this, if you are going to eat large amounts, I personally eat large amounts of especially pumpkin seeds because of their health benefits. I eat at least a half cup of pumpkin seeds a day. All that means is that you have to cut calories somewhere else. That's the whole thing. The monounsaturated fats, I also use canola oil at pretty much every meal. You just have to cut calories somewhere else. That's all that means. Okay? So keep that in mind. Nuts, peanuts, almonds, cashews, walnuts, and nut butters. Coconut, low-fat coconut milk, unsweetened shreds or chips raw. This is for occasionally. Okay? Avocado, seed, except omega-3 sources, sesame seed, sesame, pumpkin, sunflower, dried fruit. I would keep my fruit to a minimum. Added sweeteners, keep that to a minimum. Minimally processed soy products, tofu, tempeh, miso, beverages, caffeinated coffee, and tea, so keep that to a minimum. If purchased a pre-packaged food product, be sure to carefully read what is in the package, box, or can. Note that product ingredients are listed in descending order with the greatest amount by weight listed first. Avoid these foods. Meat, duh. Fish, poultry, seafood, red meat, processed meat. Dairy, yogurt, milk, cheese, butter, half and half, cream, buttermilk. Eggs, chicken, duck, quail, ostrich. Plant fragments. These oftentimes include vegan replacement foods. As I said, I realized that I had to start not eating, refined, the analog, meat analogs. Refined sugar, white sugar, barley malt, beet sugar. This is important to understand. These are the various names of sugar. They don't include glucose here, which I'm amazed, probably because glucose is actually an animal product. But, okay, white sugar, barley malt, beet sugar, brown rice syrup, brown sugar, cane juice crystals, cane sugar, corn syrup, confectioner sugar, fructose. This is all sugar, all different ways of saying sugar, okay, including glucose, sucrose. There's a lot of different ways to say sugar on a package. It's just sugar. Avoid it, okay? Refined grains, white flour, white rice, quick cook oats. I would also include potatoes in there, but he's not. Protein isolates, soy protein isolate, pea protein. I do not agree with this. I would suggest with these, the powders and such, not a big deal, but I would avoid, for whatever reason, the burgers don't agree with me personally. That's my personal opinion. Pea protein I have no issue with, so I think there might be a mild issue with the soy protein. What I recommend is getting an allergy test, which is something I still haven't done that I need to do. Beverages to avoid: soda, fruit juice, sports drinks, energy drinks. With this, I would say as long as it's sugar-free and not caffeinated, so that throws energy drinks out of the mix. I believe, and I've shown this, diet soda I don't think is a problem, as long as it's a decaffeinated diet soda and ideally free of phosphoric acid and caramel color, but you know, whatever. But definitely decaffeinated. Sports drinks, as long as they're sugar-free, I'm a big believer in electrolytes, okay? This is a plant-based shopping list. Let's see here. Let's see what a plant-based this is a video. So let's watch this video about how to do a plant-based shopping list real quick. If it loads. I guess it's not going to load. Okay, we're going to move on then. So what was the China Project? In the early 1980s, nutritional biochemist T. Colin Campbell, PhD, okay, so we're going to go over this, of Cornell University, in partnership with researchers at Oxford University and the Chinese Academy of Preventive Medicine, embarked upon one of the most comprehensive nutritional studies ever undertaken, known as the China Project. Now, I do, and I'm going to get into this later. Okay, so China at the time presented researchers with a unique opportunity. The Chinese population tended to live in the same area all their lives and to consume the same diets unique to each region. Their diets, low in fat and high in dietary fiber and plant material, also were in stark contrast to the rich diets of Western countries. The truly plant-based nature of the rural Chinese diet gave researchers a chance to compare plant-based diets with animal-based diets. So this is T. Colin Campbell talking. He says, I would briefly like to recount some of the events that led up to the start of what came to be called the China Study. When I first came to work at Campbell's Cornell, oh wait, is this T. Colin Campbell? No, this is Martin Root, PhD. So he's just talking about some stuff that led up to it. Okay. So we learned that an educated scientist during the Cultural Revolution, Chen, a medical doctor, had the misfortune to be sent to perform medical services in the very remote regions of the very poor province of Sichuan, or Sichuan. In a classic case of making lemonade out of lemons, Chen helped organize a study of an unusual disease unique to that part of the world, Qishan disease. This non-infectious condition involved deformities of the heart, and a nutritional cause was suspected. Chen's group hypothesized the lack of dietary selenium was partially the cause. It was known that selenium levels were very low in the soil and plants in that region, but no one had yet shown that selenium was a necessary nutrient for humans. In a landmark study, they showed dramatic improvement of the heart condition through supplementation with small, regular doses of selenium. This study is now known as the final chapter in the study of human essential nutrients, vitamins, and minerals. No new essential nutrient has been discovered since this study was published in 1979. In our discussions in the lab, both small and large disclosures showed us some of the cultural differences in the course of some lab work. One day, this guy told Chen to use a twistum to close a plastic bag, He asked what a twistum was and was quite intrigued by the paper and wire device. Chen was a voracious reader. Mysteries were his favorite. I would supply him with 2 to 3 a week. This dude would supply him with 2 to 3 a week from local yard sales. One day, in a moment of cultural unthinkingness, I gave him a 1984 Orwell's novel of the futuristic political tyranny to read. He returned it the very next morning and thanked me for the book politely, but said that he did not need to read it since he already lived through it. Then there was the day he discovered Saran wrap. Another day, lab tech returned from the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles and was grousing loudly about the bureaucracy. We asked Chen if there was much bureaucracy in China. After ascertaining the meaning of the term, he let us know with a few deft hand movements and wincing shake of the head that he was extremely and painfully familiar with cruel and dehumanizing bureaucracy. No one felt like following that one up. After this all but too brief sojourn, Chen returned to China. In his last few days in our lab, he and Campbell began discussing possible future research collaborations. Once he returned to China, the discussions focused on the possibility of studying the intakes of selenium, blah, blah, blah. This was the start of the China study. Okay. As with most good ideas, the start of the China study was pretty simple. In conversations one morning in the office, Dr. T. Colin Campbell, the initial research plan for the China study of diet and cancer in China was hatched. Dr. Chen, associate director, yada, yada, yada. Now that he was returning to China, he was considered possible research into diet and cancer in China, one of the unique areas in science, especially epidemiology. Wow, this guy takes forever to get to what matters. Chen explained the cancer survivor. Okay. So this allows for you to build recipes and menus. So this is free, again, from his website. So select meal type. Appetizers, breakfast, desserts, dips, spreads, drinks, main dish, salad dressings, salads, sauces, side dishes, snacks, soups, etc. Okay? Now, dietary needs. All of the recipes are oil-free and vegan, so select gluten-free, low sugar, nut-free, raw, soy-free. Okay? So these are some of the recipes. Acai berry smoothie bowl, dates and soy stir-fry sauce, pineapple fried rice, green salad with raspberries and roasted chickpeas, chimichurri sauce, Peruvian causa with oyster mushrooms, Texas caviar, some people call that cowboy caviar, pasta cacciatore, blueberry chickpea salad, oven-fried tofu, chocolate madness smoothie bowl, curried rice salad, mushroom barbecue bowl, roasted red pepper sauce. See, it's not just all Chinese foods. Like, for example, you're getting traditional mushroom barbecue. That's a traditional Mexican dish. Chimichurri sauce is, of course, Mexican. You're getting very nutritious, very diverse foods. Edamame hummus, Mexican power bowl, mushroom lentil burgers, sweet potato noodle bowl, smoky black bean burger, gazpacho, double cherry steel cut oats, pasta alfredo bowl, cauliflower breakfast scramble. So these are the things that you can eat on a whole food plant-based diet. Kale pancakes, reina papiada arepa, whatever the heck that, a Venezuelan equivalent of chicken salad. Strawberry tarragon dressing, strawberry chopped salad, berry oatmeal bake, kale avocado pesto, tempeh with ginger marinade, gallo pinto, veggie burger sliders, veggie japchae, whatever the heck that is. It's a Korean dish, I guess. Vegan frittata, plant-based carrot cake, vegetable pate, quinoa, chickpea biryani, mango ceviche, mango Dominican mashed plantains, baked falafel, quinoa timbali with mushroom sauce, walnut mushroom meatloaf, oil-free crunchy kale chips, buckwheat bread, pineapple upside-down cake, vegan scalloped potatoes, smoky beans. You're not going to starve on this diet is what I'm trying to explain to you. Vegan tiramisu, Creole red beans and rice, vegan sour cream, nutty noodles and vegetables, sweet potato enchiladas, Dominican hot chocolate, roasted tomato salsa, tomatillo tortilla bake, bourbon mushrooms, baked tomatoes and lentils, or with lentils, Dominican chapi, sweet and sour fusion soup, easy veggie pad thai, potato rolls, favorite bean and corn chili with pasta, polenta pie with rice and beans, salsa and guacamole, Greek salad with tofu feta, tomatillo and sweet potato Buddha bowl, lentils with tomatoes and spinach over rice, tomatillo sauce, chickpea chocolate chip cookies, Moroccan spiced vegetable stew. For those that don't bake with legume flours are fine. I enjoy the taste of legume flours. They're not noticeably different than whole wheat flours, or even, in some cases, I would say they're not even that noticeably different from regular wheat flour, like regular white flour. I think that, obviously, macronutriently speaking, chickpea flour, because the fiber and the protein content is better. Stuffed baked apples, peanut kale, delicious sweet potato, black bean, and collard soup, hearty holiday loaf, pigeon pea escarabici, orange ginger roasted vegetables. And I'm going to call this an end: cranberry cherry sauce, southern cabbage and potatoes, plant-based hollandaise sauce, Creole okra and lentil stew, sweet potato tofu Buddha bowl, and easy muesli cereal. And I'm going to call it an end for this video, and I'm going to continue with future videos dealing with some of Dr. Campbell's lectures. And that's all for this video.